They say that the definition of insanity is doing the same things over and over and expecting a different result, right? Now, let's apply that when it comes to Jehovah's Witnesses. For over 140 years, Jehovah's Witnesses have been patiently waiting for paradise, right? Patiently waiting for over 140 years. Wouldn't you say that it's a little insane to blindly put your faith in anything, right? For starters, anything. But to blindly put your faith in something that, as I always say, being a Jehovah's Witness, it's not a hobby. It's not a part-time gig. This is every essence of your life. This is every aspect of your life. It's controlled by this religion. And yet you can't verify. You can't do any additional research outside of your religion just to make sure that you're not being duped. You're supposed to blindly believe, ask no questions. The governing body leaders of Jehovah's Witnesses, they can literally say anything. At this point in time, in the year 2025, they can say anything. And the majority of Jehovah's Witnesses, they won't even dare to question them. Now, why is that the case? Sorry. How is that the case? How? How can a group of men that from their own mouths say, we're not inspired by God. We're infallible. We make mistakes, we get it wrong, but you better listen to us like your life depends on it. We're not infallible. Sorry, we're infallible. We make mistakes. We're not inspired by God, but you better listen to us. You better do what we say because we are God's chosen people on this planet. And yet you have millions. They say it's 8 million, but who knows? But yet you have millions of Jehovah's Witnesses worldwide devoting their entire life to this religion. Like I said, you can't question, you can't express your doubts. Even if you have, I truly believe that a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses have doubts. If not most of them, right? But they're too scared. They're scared to address them publicly because they know what's going to happen. They will be shunned and labeled as an apostate. Now, in the last video that I made, I was talking about how Jehovah's Witnesses care more about community. They care more about having their family and friends. That's more important to them. Being accepted by their peers, by their family, by other Jehovah's Witnesses. That is more important to them than knowing the truth about the truth. And I can't fathom that. I can't fathom that because no way in hell, when I did my research, I wasn't going to stick around for my mom. I wasn't going to stick around for my brothers. Yes, I love them. I'll die for them. But I'm not going to live a superficial, fake life just to keep superficial, fake people in my life. I'm not doing that. And I truly believe that if you're being upfront and honest, you're telling people the honest truth, you can never, ever go wrong. Even if it's something that they want to, even if it's something that they don't want to hear, if it's something that someone is going to shun you over, but yet you're being honest with yourself and others, then let them shun you. You can't go wrong by telling people the truth about the truth. If they don't want to hear the truth, that's on them. That's not on you. So my question is to Jehovah's Witnesses is, what is the end game? It's sad that Jehovah's Witnesses, I made videos about this in the past, how, in fact, I have a video titled Jehovah's Witnesses Fail to Think Long Term. They don't think long term. And After a while, when you're born and raised in a religion, after a while, the things that you feel like you have to do start to become, it starts to feel more like a responsibility instead of coming from your heart. Oh, I have to go to the meetings. Oh, I have to comment at the meetings. Oh, I got to go out in service. I have to. It's not because people want to do it. You see, when you get to the root of any issue, right? And that's why I titled this video, what is the end game for Jehovah's Witnesses? I'm talking about the long run, long term. What is the end game? When you go to the gym, I go to the gym a few times a week, right? I'm not that fond of the gym. However, I have a goal in mind. I want to look a certain way. I know that in order for me to look a certain way, I have to go to the gym. I have to work out somehow. So when a Jehovah's Witness goes to the meeting, when they stand in front of a cart, when they identify themselves as Jehovah's Witnesses, right? Long term, what is the end game? What's the goal? Now, Jehovah's Witnesses would say, of course, Deron, the goal is we're making it to paradise. Paradise is right around the corner. In fact, I can smell the dead bodies, the billions of dead bodies out in the streets. It's right around the corner. Paradise is right around the corner. A Jehovah's Witness would say that. They would continue to lie to themselves, convincing themselves that paradise really is right around the corner. As a Jehovah's Witness, you have to do that. That's not optional. You have to constantly remind yourself that we are in the last days. You're always lurking for bad news online, on TV or online, so you can say, yes, we're in the last days. COVID, yes. 9/11, yes. This is it. So when bad things happen to Jehovah's Witnesses, it is a constant reminder to them that they are living in the last days. Because no Jehovah's Witness wants to come to the conclusion that this is all fake, that this religion is all made up, this is man-made. No Jehovah's Witness wants to ever come to that conclusion. They don't want to. Because without that religion, they have no identity. That religion is everything to the majority of the witnesses out there. That religion is everything to them. It's everything. And if you are a Jehovah's Witness watching this video, I ask you, what is the end game? How long can you honestly lie to yourself, telling yourself that paradise is right around the corner, the end is near? How long can you continue to do that? You're going to do this up until the day that you die, you grow old and eventually die? And it's so sad that Jehovah's Witnesses, like I said before, they fail to think long term. They don't think 5 years out. They don't think 10 years out. 20 years? Hell no. We're going to be in paradise. We're going to be in paradise 20 years from now, eating watermelon and drinking Kool-Aid. No pun intended. But you know what's funny? If a Jehovah's Witness, let's say I were to go back in time. Let's say there was a time machine to hop into, right? And I went back to the year 1990, and I spoke to the witnesses. I said, hey, I'm a witness. Well, was a witness from the future. I'm from the future. I'm from the year 2025. Did you know that in the future, you brothers could wear face? You could have this facial hair that I'm sporting right now. You brothers could have facial hair in the future. In the future, you brothers could talk to the fellowship ones. In the future, no more counting time. Now you're just going to be able to check a box. In the future, your governing body, one of your governing body leaders is going to make an announcement saying that anyone could wait until the very last minute, see the signs that this is Jehovah, that Jehovah is the true God. Anyone can have last minute repentance. So you brothers here in the year 1990, You can live your life. You can do whatever you want, because in the future, an announcement is going to be made where anyone and everyone can make it at the very last minute. Now, let's say I was to let's say that I was to hypothetically do that, right? I hop into the time machine back in the year 1990, and I said all that to witnesses, right? Witnesses would be like, "What? They would never ever change things. This organization, they would never allow men to have facial hair. You talking about counting no more time? Check a box? What are you smoking? What are you smoking? We're always going to count time. We always have counted time. Last minute repentance. If you're not baptized by the Great Tribulation, you're dead. Hold on. You said you was from the future, the year 2025? We're in the year 1990. The year 2025, we're going to be in paradise. Paradise is right around the corner. You see, all the witnesses back in the 90s, 80s, right? That's my era, the 80s and 90s. All these witnesses, they would say, if you would have a conversation with them back in the 80s or 90s, and you talking about the future, they would have thought that by the year 2025, they would be in paradise right now. And you know why? It's sad how their end game to them up here is paradise, right? That's their end game, is paradise. But what happens when decades pass? You go from being the age 20 and now you're the age 70. 50 years have passed and paradise is not here. What happens then? What happens then? And that is the sad reality for most Jehovah's Witnesses. Most Jehovah's Witnesses will eventually grow old and die. Most of them. Now, yes, more and more people are waking up. I love to hear stories of people waking up in one way or another. As long as you wake up, I love to hear those stories, right? But my heart goes out to the vast majority of witnesses, because it's people like my family, my mom, my two brothers, all my childhood friends growing up. The majority of them, like I said, more and more people will wake up as time passes, right? More and more people will wake up and leave the cult. However, the vast majority are going to remain fast asleep. Because their end game to them up here is paradise. And Jehovah's Witnesses have a habit, and I've done this too when I was a witness, but Jehovah's Witnesses have a bad habit of letting their faith create, Jehovah's Witnesses confuse their faith with facts. They have so much strong faith that what they believe in is the truth. Oh, we feel like this is the truth. It sounds compelling. It sounds really good. We could live forever and see our deceased loved ones again. That sounds legit. Sign me up. They have so much faith in something that sounds legit, but they don't have any facts to back it up. They confuse their faith with facts. And it's like, for an organization that has been around for over 140 years, when you hear of a witness say, I have been a loyal witness for 50 plus years, huh? Come again? For how long? I thought you guys been saying the end is right around the corner. 50 years is right around the corner? You see, Jehovah's Witnesses, they're so busy doing what they're doing. Meetings, preparing for meetings, going out service, personal study. They're so busy indulging their entire time. Every aspect of their life to this religion is devoted. Yeah, every aspect of their life is devoted to this religion, one way or another, right? They're so busy these days that they are on autopilot. That's when you're just so used to doing things, your body takes over. Subconsciously, you might be somewhere else. You might checked out, but you just know that on Thursday nights, I gotta go to the meeting. Sunday, I'm going to the meeting. I gotta answer the watch hour. Saturday, the weekends, I gotta go out service. You just do things without thinking. And I wish that Jehovah's Witnesses took the time to just stop and think about the long term, the end game. If paradise doesn't happen, and they've been speaking about paradise for over 140 years, right? If Jehovah's Witnesses have been born and raised in this organization, this religion for over 140 years, born in this religion, lived out their entire life, and then died waiting for this paradise, when are people going to start waking up and start to come to the conclusion that, hey, maybe this is not the truth after all. Maybe paradise ain't coming. Why would a Jehovah's Witness have to serve out their entire life from birth to death? And in between, you don't stop to think, maybe I should do some research. Maybe I should verify that this really is the truth before I devote my entire life to this religion. I can't fathom how, even with all the information, the technology that's online, everything that's online, everyone, when you think about it, it's like, wow. Every Jehovah's Witness on this planet could wake up tomorrow, just like that, if they wanted to. If they wanted to, right? But that would involve some deep soul searching. Because when you wake up from a cult like Jehovah's Witnesses, something has to motivate you to do that research. To do your research, to wake up. You either have doubts, or in my case, something happens to you. You see some type of injustice in the organization, and then you start to do some research, and then boom. Once you do your research, you eventually leave, right? But what's the end game? Jehovah's Witnesses, it's time. It is time to start thinking long term. The end game, the end of your life. Not this fantasy paradise pipe dream that you want to live in. Because at the end of the day, if paradise doesn't come, and us former witnesses, we've done our research, we come to the conclusion that this is not the truth, it's just another man-made organization, and we realize that one day we are not going to be here. Paradise ain't coming. We're all going to pass away at one time, at one given time, right? But I ask you, Jehovah's Witnesses, if you supposedly have the truth should always be questioned. It should always be scrutinized. And you should still come back to the conclusion that you have the truth. Now, the Bible, 1 Thessalonians 5:21, said it encourages people to test things, to make sure of things. Test things out. Don't just take the word of a governing body leader who's not even inspired by God. The governing body leaders are not even inspired by God. But yet you have millions of Jehovah's Witnesses devoting their entire life to this religion. And you know what's sad? Once the witnesses devote their entire life to grow old and die, you know what happens? The governing body leaders, the society, the Watchtower and Tract Society, they bring on new governing body leaders. They get ready for a whole new generation of witnesses, young ones that are going to become old ones eventually, and the cycle continues. And no one stops to think, from being born at JW, from birth to your old age, whether you die in your 70s, 80s, 90s, right? From birth to your old age. It's sad that Jehovah's Witnesses, they might have doubts, but the majority of them, they don't explore those doubts. They don't do a deep dive with the questions that they really want to ask. The questions that The majority of Jehovah's Witnesses are scared to ask publicly because they know damn well that they're going to be labeled as an apostate. So what's the end game, Jehovah's Witnesses? What's the end game here? Is a cycle going to just keep going on? People just being born and raised in this organization, slaves for their entire life, preaching, preparing for meetings, going to meetings, personal study, your entire life, you're on this hamster wheel. And then you die. Is that your end game? Is that how you want your legacy to go out? Is that how you want your life to end? Waiting for a paradise that people have been talking about for over 140 years. A paradise that you can't even find in the Bible. You can't find the two words paradise, earth in the Bible. You can't find a passage where Jesus Christ was speaking about people living forever on paradise. Jesus never preached about people living forever in paradise. It's not in the Bible. But yet you have Jehovah's Witnesses devoting their entire life, slaving until the day that they die. And no one stops to bother and ask themselves, what is the end game here? What if paradise doesn't happen? What if paradise doesn't come and I live to see 80, 90 years old? And this whole time they've been saying the end is right around the corner. Paradise is right around the corner this whole time for over 100 years. Over 100 years, Jehovah's Witnesses have been duped. They've been lied to by a $1 billion corporation, a man-made organization, a fear-mongering organization that does a damn good job at deceiving their members, that does a damn good job at gaslighting their members. It's time. It's time for Jehovah's Witnesses to start to think long term. Think about the end game. What if paradise doesn't happen? And you can't even you can't even Google your own religion? You can't even talk to ex-members and see why we left? You have the truth, right? So what's the problem? You have the truth, so why are you scared? Why are you scared to think critically? Why are you scared to think objectively? Why are you scared to look online and Google your own religion if you supposedly have the truth? Deep down inside, you know something's wrong. I knew something was wrong when they kept talking about apostates when I was a witness. Because at the back of my mind, I kept saying to myself, hold on. We have the truth. Why? Who cares about ex-members? Who cares about apostates if we have the truth? Why are they making talks about apostates if we have the truth? That was in the back of my mind. And it all made sense when I did my research and woke up. All the puzzles to the pieces were put together and it all made sense. But Jehovah's Witnesses, what is the end game for you guys? You guys should not be living, you guys should not be born and raised your entire life living, slaving for this organization. And then instead of being gifted with paradise, you are gifted with death. You wait for paradise until the day you grow old and die. What kind of a life is that? What's the end game, guys? It's time for a change. Life is too precious, too short for people to be slaves to a man-made money-making organization. Life is too short for that. Anyway, guys, I love you guys. If you're a Jehovah's Witness watching this video, please take into consideration everything that I've said. I make these videos because I don't want no one to die believing in a lie. Imagine that. You slaved your entire life waiting for paradise. You grow old, and the only thing you have to look forward to is death. Do your research and thank me later. I'll see you guys on the next video. Take care.